So I had a conversation with a young lady who's now grown up with kids of her own, and she was telling me how much she hated 50-50. And a lot of people don't know it, but the reason why my channel name is 50-50 Dads because I'm in a 50-50. And you know, this young lady who now has kids telling me that 50-50 was horrible for her really shows me what I need to do as dad. So she told me that while she was growing up, her father had 50-50, but what he would do is he wouldn't spend time with her. He would leave her at her grandparents' house, which I've had to do with my daughter in the past, but it wasn't like an every weekend thing. It would be like, okay, if I had to work or if I had to go do something, she would stay with her grandmother. So what's happened over the last year as she's gotten older is she's verbally said, she wants to stay with me. She used to be excited to go by grandma's house, and then I would say, well, if I gotta work, then it really isn't a choice, right? But because I'm not working on the weekends, I'm like, okay, where do you want to stay? You want to stay with me? And she's always wanted to stay with me, and so I'm loving it because we're getting time to bond. And so my daughter is going to have a different experience with 50-50. I'm not sure if she's going to change her opinion on it when she gets older, but right now she loves it. She loves having two houses, as she would say. She's in two different condos with her own room. And I think the biggest thing is if you have their own space for them and you spend time with them when it's your weekend, or whenever you have them on your 50-50, like you do homework with them and you bond with them, I don't see why they wouldn't like it. However, I could understand as they get older if they don't like the back and forth. From what I've seen with all the other parents that are further along in it, like my daughter's only 6, all the people I know that are in it and they have teenagers, they generally do week on, week off. But it was just crazy to see this girl complain about it. And I said to myself, the 50-50 didn't suck. Your father sucked. He spent no time with you, and that was the biggest issue. And so she said she felt like she was living out of a backpack, but I'm like, if you have your own room by your father's house and by your mother's house, and he makes time for you, then how can you feel like that? I know a lot of people have always argued about 50-50 and how kids should only have one home base. And I don't think that's for every kid. I think if the parents can work together, they don't have to be the best of friends. And me and my ex were not the best of friends, but we try to work together. As long as y'all work together and try to, figure out things that are involving a child together, then I don't see why it can't work. But it was crazy having somebody tell me that it didn't work, but she made it seem like it was more about the 50-50, but it was more about her father just being a terrible father or parent. So I don't know. My daughter's opinion on it is all positive. I think the only negative, and she doesn't really say, oh, it's the 50-50's fault. She just wants me and her mother to be together, which I keep telling her it's just not going to work out because, if you're fighting all the time, your kid's going to see that and it might make your kid sad. That's the way I saw it. So I didn't want her to be sad seeing me and her mom fight. And so I told her, hey, we're not together because we couldn't get along and you don't want to see mommy and daddy fight. And the thing she told me was that she doesn't care, but I think she doesn't care because she hasn't seen it. And so that is the only complaint my daughter has with 50-50. So if you guys are looking to do 50-50, just make sure that both sides are actually involved. If you take the time to spend time with your child when it's your weekend or, when it's your shift on the 50-50, because if you do, then it should turn out pretty well and not like the girl that was telling me how horrible it was for her.